We go to sports,
What?
where ESPN's resident loudmouth Stephen A. Smith is just a little bit of hot water.
Uh-oh.
Why, you must say? Well, after saying brothers be flipping for Trump,
Son of a bitch!
goes, well, wait a minute. What I really meant to say was,
Ooh.
I'm Jazz Berganzo and this.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Jazz Berganzo, what's next? Your daily dose. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this Wednesday. Happy hump day. Well, speaking of this man, Stephen A. Smith. Now, for those who don't know, Stephen A. Smith is the resident loudmouth at ESPN. Of course, he's got First Take, and of course, he's got his own podcast. Stephen A. Smith is someone who sees a lot of things through the prism of race. A lot of times he has his glasses on, and he gets called out on it. But other times, he'll speak from a perspective that's reasonable to you and me. But this one, he's a little bit hot water. After coming out of the last few months and saying, well, you know what, maybe Democrats should start looking at Trump and maybe flipping the script. After saying brothers be flipping for Trump, he's in a little bit of hot water. So what happens? Yeah, he does what a lot of celebrities do. He backpedaled and says, yeah, what I really meant to say was, oops, my bad. And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. Stephen A. Smith apologizes for saying blacks relate to Trump, then cites growing support for Trump among blacks. He says, well, you know, I'm sorry, but here's what I really meant to say. There he is. Stephen A. Smith apologized for saying black people relate to Trump because of his persecution by the legal system. In a way, the ESPN hot take machine took to the podcast airwaves on Monday to clear the air in the list of various civil rights organizations and media personalities who took to him their task for saying that the slew of legal trials for the president is subject to what endear him to blacks who feel similarly persecuted. Quote, and I'm going to try my best Stephen A. here. Dare I say something that will probably be termed the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever had to articulate out of my mouth from a political perspective. But I got to tell you something. As much as people have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talk about how black folks, he's hearing about black folks be relatable to him, be flipping for him, is what he's going through, similar to what black Americans are going through, he wasn't lying. He wasn't telling the truth. He said this on Hannity.
We look at polls. Polls are always broken down demographically, and you see this major erosion in the Democratic base for Biden. African Americans, Hispanic Americans, young people. And if Donald Trump can hold on to 5, 10, 15% of the numbers that he has now, he will win the next election. Why is that happening? That's my question.
As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how black folks, he's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling.
Yeah. But on Monday, Stephen attempted to clear the air. Quote, a lot of black folks in black America seem pissed with me right now, from friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I say, even the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off and not flat out offended after my words were interpreted and associated for support for Trump from the black community with all the legal issues he's facing. For that, I sincerely apologize. To be clear, my words were misconstrued. Really? They were your words, but they were misconstrued. Yeah, okay. Colin Rugg. Stephen A. Smith backtracks and says he's sorry for his positive comments about Donald Trump that went viral last week every single time. Smith, who said black people can't relate to Trump because of the injustice he's facing, now says his comments were misconstrued.
I wanted to touch on something that I made news about just a few days ago. Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. Accountability is where everything needs to begin in this world. It's something I say quite often. I certainly never hesitate to hold folks accountable when mistakes or mishaps occur. So I'm certainly not about to run from it myself. I'm fully aware that I've been in the news over the last few days, paraded all over social media as well, after comments I made during my appearance on Fox News' Hannity last week with the one and only Sean Hannity himself. And I'm fully aware of the outcry that has ensued because of it. A lot of folks in Black America seem pretty pissed at me right now. From friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I say even the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off, if not flat out offended, after my words were interpreted as associating support for Trump from the black community with all the legal issues he's facing. For that, I sincerely apologize.
However, shortly after backpedaling in his indifference to critics, Smith went on to list several polls and surveys showing that blacks had indeed increased their support for the former president. Yes, again, brothers be flippin'. Smith stressed that he studied the facts, quote unquote, before giving his opinion, and there had indeed been a momentum shift among blacks towards Trump. Most of the reaction on X, however, was unsympathetic to Smith. Colin Rugg, of course, what I just said previously, Red White Press. Of course, now he's backtracking. Why do people give into the angry mob instead of doubling down? Mike Sparza. ESPN got to him, probably threatened to fire him. Gunther Eagleman. Smith is a coward. Paul Zaspula. Stephen A. Smith is a spineless coward. He got bullied into changing his tune. Everyone can see President Trump is facing grave injustice right now. To deny it in any way is ignoring reality. Smith should be ashamed of himself for not standing by what he originally had said. It could be argued that Smith's apology was actually a stronger statement of support than his initial interview on Hannity. Though he backpedaled, Smith used his platform on X to tell his nearly 6 million viewers about the important shift in a crucial voting bloc that Democrats can ill afford to lose. If the polls, as Smith mentioned, are correct, and of course, polls are science, remember that, they could foretell a historic shift in Democrats' most consistently loyal demographic. After all, it's not like Smith said he was voting for Trump. All he said was that more blacks could relate to him. And whether it's because of Trump's legal issues or because their lives were demonstrably better when he was president, it seems quite correct about that. One, again, I apologize for my Stephen A. impersonation, of every bad one indeed. But he should have just doubled down what he said on Hannity. He shouldn't have said, you know what, I don't apologize for anything I said on Hannity. The fact of the matter is that a lot of people do associate what Trump is going through right now in the mock trial, in the witch hunt trial, similar to what some have gone through in the black community. Let's make it clear. Not every black has been in prison. Not every black has been on trial. Not every black has been charged or arrested. Some have. But he points out something very clear, is that there are certain polls. And again, polls change like the wind. Let's see which way the polls are going. Oh, yes, I'll vote this way. A lot of people do just that.
Look at the polls!
They don't read into the candidates. They see an R, they see a D, they flip the switch. A lot of people do that. They just do. Or they've always voted one way. It's always been a Democrat. I've always voted Democrat. I've been voting Democrat for years. My sons, my daughters, my wife has been voting Democrat. Same thing goes with the Republican. I've been voting GOP since I was, since I was a little baby. There are people who just don't like change. They don't like to hear different opinions. But there are some who over the years, it's finally sunken through the upper crust, or should I say the crust, multiple layers, and finally have sunk in and say, hey, you know what? Even though Trump's got this, and that wrong with him, it was better off with him with president than it is with Dementia Joe. And that's a fact. Under the first 3 years of Trump, the economy was much better. The border wasn't as much as it was a sieve. It was flooding, but not to the lengths of 8.5 million who have flooded the borders. We were never involved in any kind of quote unquote wars, proxy or otherwise, under Trump. But year 4, I give him no favors and I pull no punches when it comes to his embarrassing display when it came to handling the coof and mandating the magical poison poke. But when it comes to Stephen A., when it comes to these polls, if correct, again, I say that with a big quotation marks, if correct, then per Hannity, Hannity's right. All he needs is 5, 10, even possible 15%, which is impossible because the last time anybody got that high 15% was George W. So, Stephen A. backpedal? You bet. Should he have doubled down? You bet. Of course, he was right to cite polls? You bet. We'll see how that pans out come November. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please have a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue to spread the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.